So hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Shell, aka Kasha Love, and I did already film this video outside yesterday, but the wind noise was just a bit too much, so I'm filming inside, still from here in Palma de Mallorca in Spain, but inside today, so the sound quality hopefully will be better. So welcome back to my channel. If you are already a subscriber or a regular viewer, thank you for returning. If you are not, please consider subscribing, liking this video, and help me share this content out into the world. This channel is all about self-love, self-respect, self-honor, and growing a strong sense of self so that we can flow from the inward outward. Stay centered in ourselves, let go of things like people-pleasing, codependency, and build a really strong and clear sense of self to relate authentically with everybody in your life and in the world. Relate from. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about playing music in the street, or busking. If you are a non-English speaker, you might not know this word busking, but it basically means going and playing music in the street, or it can also be any other kind of art that you do in the street. So maybe some clown kind of art, any kind of street performance really. So I've been doing that here in Mallorca and also in Vienna, Austria over the last couple of months. And I just wanted to share about that here in case this will be relevant or resonate with you in any way. So a big part of this busking experience or experiment for me is getting over the fear of being seen. So I have had this really strong fear of being seen, like fully seen, I think maybe my whole life. I'm now 50. And so I am still working on getting over this fear of being seen. And this busking, playing music in the street experiment is a really, really strong way to face that fear, stand and see that fear and step through it and allow myself to be seen by people through playing my music in the street. And also the flip side of that, the other side of that, allowing myself to be seen, is also allowing myself to be ignored. So ignored, rejected, and some people even, like the other day when I was here in Mallorca singing, some people even made fun of me. Like one woman kind of made fun of how I was flipping my hair. And so that can be really confronting. It did feel really confronting, but it's also part of this process that I'm going through, which is it's really like walking through a tunnel of fear, that really intense tunnel of fear of just being seen by strangers, and especially being seen in a really vulnerable way, which is you singing, you expressing yourself. To me, that's kind of the most vulnerable way that we can be seen, is like us singing. That's your voice, that's the sound of your soul coming out into the street. So it's both very powerful and also very vulnerable, puts you in, you're showing yourself fully. So if people do kind of make fun of you in some way, or obviously just ignore you, walk by you, that can hurt. And so that's also part of the experience. It's part of why I'm doing this, just to really train this internal muscle of mine, which is this part of me, which is terrified still, a little terrified, a little frightened of being seen. So I think many people probably have this wound of feeling, because that being really afraid of being seen probably is most likely coming from a wound, most likely developed in childhood, which is a wound of being unseen, a wound of not being fully seen. And I think it's probably very common. I think many people probably have this wound of being unseen or being invisible. And I will see if I can put a link to, I made another video about feeling invisible in the world. I'll put a link up here to that. So why would we have such a wound why would we have this sort of deep feeling of being unseen? Generally, it will come from our childhood and will come from our parents just not really seeing us. And rather than blame, I'm not here to blame any parents. Everybody, I do believe, is doing their best at all times in their life. They're doing the best with their tools and their all the equipment that they have, everything they've learned in their life so far. And some parents, if their parents did not really emotionally see them, so did not really give them the emotional space to be fully expressed young children, which I think is very common, then those people may have grown up themselves feeling unseen and also feeling afraid of their own emotions. I think that's also very common. If you haven't been given a safe space in your family of origin to fully emotionally express, so that's both so-called negative emotional expression such as anger, frustration, resentment, envy, jealousy, and also positive emotional expression, so joy, happiness, ecstasy, overflowing, good feelings. So both these positive and negative emotional poles may have been suppressed in your childhood inadvertently by your parents because they grew up in that kind of family environment where their parents did the same to them. So they grew up not learning how to manage their own emotions and probably fearful of their own emotions. And as a result, they are not really able to hold the space for the full emotional expression of their children, and probably mostly unconsciously they may shut down this emotional expression of their children because it feels threatening to them, because they're not also expressing, they're not fully expressed themselves, so it's threatening to them. They don't know how to deal with it. So this will very likely result in you growing up feeling unseen because you have not been able to fully express. You've had to kind of shut yourself down, tone yourself down, like turn the volume down on your soul essence, on the full expression of your soul, in order to feel safe. Because if you did, say, get angry, have an emotional outburst, frustration, rage, whatever, even maybe really bubbly, overflowing joy that may have just been shut down, and then you would have felt, okay, this is unsafe. It's unsafe to be fully expressed in the world. I have to turn myself down. I have to not really show my emotions. And so, as I said, you will probably reach adulthood and feel unseen. And that if that's kind of in the background of your life, then you may just carry around that imprint that I'm invisible, I'm not seen, people don't see me, until you really bring it into the light of consciousness, the light of awareness. So this is what I'm doing with this busking experiment. It's bringing that wound of mine into the light of consciousness, into the light of awareness, and working with that every time I go out into the street, every time I have to overcome, firstly, a very big fear, because I do have to overcome a really huge fear of actually just going out there and doing my thing, singing my songs. every single time I do it, I have to overcome that fear. And then while I'm in that process, I have to also be working with those emotions, constantly interacting with my inner self, especially when I get perhaps some kind of reaction from the public, which is difficult, or even just ignoring or walking past. When I'm feeling rejected or ignored, I'm also constantly in contact with my inner self, working on building that muscle. It's like an emotional muscle that I'm building up, of being able to be seen, being able to handle the different reactions of people to my full expression, to my songs, being able to handle it if people reject me or if people are unkind, and also being able to handle positive feedback, smiles, good feelings, money given to me. That's also something that you have to emotionally handle to receive that. You have to be able to receive all of it, not push any of it away, in order to kind of open up that emotional space in your energy field and basically grow a new emotional identity, which is an identity of a person who does have the capacity to be seen. And this is a new identity that you're growing if, for example, you have had this feeling in the background of your life that you are unseen and that it's not safe to be seen. So why else would we have, what are some of the side effects of this feeling unseen? One of the really strong side effects of feeling not fully seen as an adult, and as a result of perhaps emotional repression in your childhood. And this can also be, of course, this emotional repression experience can also come from your experience at school. If you were not fully supported in your school environment to fully self-express, if you got the message that that was dangerous also in school. So one of the side effects of this programming is people-pleasing, codependency. And that is basically because you don't feel fully safe in yourself and fully safe to be yourself and fully safe to self-express, share the full range of your emotions. You may have been consciously or unconsciously trained yourself unconsciously or consciously, most likely unconsciously, to really tap in to all the emotions and feelings of the people around you, to develop this kind of a heightened psychic ability to kind of feel in to other people and tap into where they are at emotionally in order for you to feel safe. So that effectively is you stepping outside of yourself, putting your energy out of yourself and into other people. And so that's a form of self-abandonment, really. And if you have had a habit of abandoning yourself in that way and going into this people-pleasing in order to feel emotionally safe, one of the results of that can be a really strong feeling of lack of your own identity, lack of being really fully inside yourself, because you're out there looking, having a hyper vigilance, if you like, towards the emotional states of other people. So that can, if you have developed inadvertently that it's a behavior that's been developed to keep yourself safe in relationship because you have felt unsafe to be fully expressed. So it's a maladaptive behavior that you've developed to keep yourself safe. And it's known as people-pleasing codependency. But as a result, you may really have this strong feeling that you don't know who you are because you've been too much going outwards and not enough staying with yourself, owning your own emotional states, stating what you really feel, and asking for what you need or you want. Instead of all of that, which is a healthy behavior, you have been going out to other people, trying to tap into their states, their feelings, and trying to kind of do a workaround for how to get your needs met based on meeting their needs. So that is a really unhealthy, maladaptive behavioral strategy that you may have adopted as a result of not feeling safe to be fully emotionally expressed in your childhood. So the reason I'm doing this busking experiment is really working with this state in myself and working through this block and pushing through that fear of being seen. And on the other side of me pushing through is me growing a stronger sense of self and me pulling back that people pleaser energy and that codependent energy, and basically pulling back all my energy into me, being brave enough to share my work out in the world, and being brave enough to stand how people will react. So another really interesting thing that happened just the other day in my most recent busking session was some young boys came up, 3 young boys. The first 2 came up and they asked me if they could sing a song. Basically just wanting to take over my gig and sing their own song, and that felt very clearly to me like a boundary break, like they just wanting to take from me. So I have my equipment, I have my mic, I have my amp, I have everything set up for my performance, which is basically my work, and they're wanting to take over. And so somebody who is really in the people-pleasing energy still might even have said yes to that, wanting to please these random young boys. But I absolutely got a very, very clear no, and I just said no. This is my space. I've created this space. I've brought all my equipment. This is mine. I didn't say it in that much detail. I just said no. And then more boys came up and did the same thing. They actually, I think they asked if they could buy my microphone or something. And the same thing, I was just like, okay, this is a boundary challenge that I'm getting. And I just gave a very clear no. This is me, this is my space, this is my stuff. It's not for sale. The space is not for sale. Please leave me alone. So that's also really part of this experience of being out in a street, in the public space, with no protection. You're not on a stage. There's no managers. There's no people handlers. Anybody can actually just come up and talk to you, and you have to manage that interaction. So it's also a really good way for me to really check in with all of these questions. Okay, boundaries. Okay, people randomly talking to me. How do I manage that? How do I respond to them and stay strongly connected into my inner self? So if you do recognize that you suffer also from a little bit of this people pleasing, or a lot of it, this codependency dynamic, where you have this inbuilt need to kind of go send your energy out to the people around you, to check in with them in order to work out how to feel safe. The first thing to do for healing that is just to recognize it. And even though you might feel a victim to this dynamic, the first thing to really recognize is that it's a controlling behavior. So it's really easy to feel victim to that dynamic, but it can help you to overcome it, I think, by recognizing that it's actually a controlling behavior that you have. You're trying to control people by tapping into their energy, their emotions, trying to work out what they need or want from you in order for you to get your needs met. So that's the first step. Recognize it, see how and when it happens in your life, just call it out, flag it internally. And the second step to healing from this is, when you do recognize that dynamic of the sending your energy out, is to just pull it all back to you. Recognize it, cut that pattern right in the moment that you see it come up, cut it, energetically cut it, pull back your energy to you. Ask yourself, what do I want? What do I need in this moment? Focus on yourself. Bring everything back. Focus on yourself. And if you do have some particular needs or wants, express them. Ask those people. And really recognize that it's not your job to manage or overly focus on the inner realities of other people. Your only job is to manage your own inner reality and to be able to stand up for yourself and ask for what you need or want in these interactions, in these relationships, and state your position. So that's basically the main work in, if you're working on healing this people-pleasing codependency dynamic. And this will also, by default, heal a little bit that feeling of being unseen, because you're really pulling your energy back to yourself, and you're requiring yourself to stand up for yourself, and you're asking yourself to communicate your wants and needs really clearly. And then if you want to take it to another level, especially if you also recognize this this feeling of being unseen, of being invisible, then you may want to do some kind of experiment like the busking experiment that I'm doing. And you will design that, your own experiment, whatever that looks like for you. But know that if it doesn't feel really scary, like the busking thing for me feels really scary, then you're not at your edge. You're not at the edge of your comfort zone, of that fear edge. In order to really work through this issue, you need to push onto your fear edge, and you need to push through it. And you're the only one, of course, that knows how and when you can do that. But I'm just saying, if you do really want to work and change this dynamic and push through the fear to the other side where it feels safe for you to be seen, you need to really go to your edge and walk through the edge, go through. The only way out is through. So the only way out of a really big fear, like big fear of being seen, is to really push yourself to be seen. So good luck with that if you are on that journey, and you will know what is the right context and the right activity and the right way that you can work on that for yourself. So thank you so much for listening. Do let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about everything that I've spoken about, whether you recognize this fear of being seen, or these old patterns of people-pleasing or codependency within yourself, how you are working through them. I would be really interested to hear all of that. And lastly, but not least, just remember to let go of all and any self-judgment that you may notice around all this stuff. There's no need to be judging yourself in any way. Be kind to yourself, be loving to yourself, and just be grateful that you are seeing these dynamics, patterns, behaviors, so that you can heal them. Absolutely no need for any kind of self-flagellation or any kind of self-judgment. Okay, so thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. And forgot to mention, I will also put below here, if you're interested in working with me on a deeper level, in a more personal way, please check out my Youniverse community, which I'll put a link in the description, and that's open now for new members to join, and it has a very special monthly rate which will not last forever. So jump in and check out that page and see if that resonates with you, and I will see you inside of there if it does. And lots of love from from Mallorca, Spain.